Good afternoon, Quilt Roadies. How are you all doing? I have been burning the candle at both ends, and it's only going to get more active as July hits. But I'm so glad to take this moment just to hang out with you a bit and get you caught up on what I've been doing. You want to stay tuned on this video because I did do a walk around at the Center Diamond in Cannon Beach, Oregon, which is one of my favorite quilt shops on the coast. Not only is the Oregon coast absolutely stunning, but Cannon Beach Quilt Shop, the Center Diamond, has it's not big, but it is packed with inspiring quilting items, and it has the most Sashiko type threads and pre-printed panels that I've seen anywhere around the Oregon area, in the state of Oregon. Of course, I've not been to every corner. I should get to every corner. So I did, as I walked around, I did see a kit that was put together that I purchased, because when I saw it, I thought, oh, my daughter-in-law would just love this. And she just told me recently that she likes that more modern, and I tend to do more traditional stuff. You know, we all have our genre, but our family doesn't always like or want that grandmother's flower garden or, you know, that kind of thing in their house. You know, everybody gets their own decorating sense, but this kit was so, I mean, I loved it. And it was made out of one of the Villa Rosa designs. This is the card. I mean, the picture doesn't look like much. It really, it's interesting. Don't get me wrong. It's interesting. But I would not have purchased it based on this card, although now I can tell that I may be making this particular quilt over and over again, because it has, you know, all of those pieces. I might be able to use my Asian fabrics that I had cut up that size. But here's the kit, the fabric. Kind of that little bit modern geometric look to it. So towards the end of July, I will be tackling that kit. I've got a little time because her birthday's not for a while. So what else? Well, we went to the coast, hence the Center Diamond. Yeah, we went to the coast just to take a break and kind of emotionally charge up for July. And it was a mixed bag of weather. Sun popped out, then it would rain. Sun pops out, and then it would rain. It was chilly on the beach, but it was fun meeting up with our younger son and his family there. They stayed in a hotel, and we stayed in Penny in the campground. I don't know what it is about the van, but I sleep like a baby in that van. It's usually the best sleep I ever get. I don't know, it must be like a cocoon, but it's awesome. It's just awesome. So we had a nice time. We walked around the town of Cannon Beach. It reminds me very much of Sisters, being a tourist town, needing all the help wanted signs in the businesses, but we had our saltwater taffy fix. Yeah, it was an enjoyable break. And I always, as I've told you before, I fall asleep at the beach like, you know, just the sound. That's the sound machine I have here, is the sound of the ocean. I did stitching there, and my travel stitching, just, I know I've showed you this before and I have posted it on Instagram, is Sewing the Good Life. SewingTheGoodLife.com. And I have 3 of her kits, and by kits I mean they are pre-printed onto what's called sandcastle fabric, which is already a pre-quilted fabric. So right now I am working on these Christmas stockings, and you can see by the fabric that it's already kind of quilted, and the stitching is very easy. You don't need to use a hoop because the fabric is heavy enough, but not that you can't needle through it without any problem at all. And it's already pre-printed, and her kits come with this pre-printed, and the thread and a needle is provided. So it's a no-brainer on the road. And it's usually all back stitch or satin stitch, pretty simple embroidery stitches, and those are explained in her kits. So I started this one on the way home because I finished the previous one, which was this. So this one is all done, and I have decided to make this into a pillow for my bench in the front entry. So I'm going to cut this down a little bit smaller, and in my quest to use from Stash, I found this fabric that I will be using for the border of that. So I think it's going to be really kind of go well together. Yeah. I think that'll be really pretty. So I will have a fall pillow. All stored, my Sewing the Good Life is all stored in my Chris Yo bag that I got. I know I change my mind all the time. That originally was going to be Hexie's, but as pointed out by my college roommate, I already have a Yazzie Hexie bag. So I don't need a second one. And having given tutorial on Hexie's to a couple of girlfriends, they are off and running. And I showed you this last time, this Hexie that I made. So cute. But I think I'm going to try Linda, aka Van Mom, gave a tutorial on her Patreon site on how to make these Hexie pin cushions. And I think I'm going to make a few of these. I just really think they're adorable. I am. My brain is going crazy. I'm already planning for fall. I already am planning for fall. I did get, in between all of the, life stuff, I did get my tomato quilted. And just so you know, these look like they're, because of how detailed the actual piecing of these Laura Heine quilts are, these are generally, when I've seen them at market or at shows, they're just quilted with a straight line grid. It doesn't take any fancy quilting because the patterns are so detailed that you really don't need that. And I don't even mark. I don't care if the lines are not even, if one's further apart than the other, you can't really see it. So all I do is I put my walking foot on, I choose a color thread that will be fairly nondescript, and so in this case, I chose a pink Aurifil, a light pink Aurifil, and I just stitched eyeballing the space in between, so some lines are closer and some lines are further apart, but it doesn't matter because the overall look is still there. So I got that quilted, and I'm going to face it. And for those of you that have been here a while, you know that when I decide to face, usually it's a more modern quilt or something where I don't want to add an extra element or color to the quilt. And binding does that. Binding frames a quilt, but it adds another element. And depending on the color you choose, it could add another color to your quilt. So on some quilts I choose to face them, and by facing I mean that I fold the fabric, the binding fabric that I put on, I fold it back so you don't see it, so it's a really clean edge. And if you're interested, you can Google quilt roadies facing a quilt, and my tutorial will come up on how I did that. When I was looking around it, because in another week or so I'm going to be in Sisters, Oregon for the Quilters Affair. I am not only taking a class with Scott Hansen, Blue Nickel Studio, and as I showed you before, I've got my Yazzie bag all ready for class. This is the most fantastic Yazzie bag, I have to say. Going to class, this thing is the bomb. The bomb. When you have to have all these different fabrics, because the thing just sits up, and when you fold the top down, it just stands there and you get to see the whole. It's like having your fat quarters on the shelf. Really no-brainer. So I'm going to be taking that class on a Monday, and then I have 4 days of sit and stitch, which I mentor. And I have evening times. So I'm trying to decide what do I want to take to keep my hands busy, because, you know, when you keep your hands busy, you get in less trouble. At least that's what I was told when I was a kid, but maybe that was a way for my parents to get work out of me. But I looked at the pile of quilt tops that I had that need something done to them, and I found this one, which is a Primitive Gatherings, I believe, quilt. And all of the wool, it's all pieced in the center, those stars, but all in the border are wool pumpkins. And so I'm going to take this and start tacking down all the pumpkins, the stems, and the leaves, so that it can get to the point where it is can be quilted. Yeah, we're going to start finishing things. Even though we want to start things, we're going to start finishing things. With that said, I'm not backtracking on you. I'm not backtracking on you. I'm not going back on my promise. I didn't make no promise, no. I found this project and said, this is a no-brainer too. I'm taking this to Sisters. And you probably can find this on a French General site. It is just a pre-printed panel, basically. Yeah, exactly. So it's pre-printed, and I backed it. It's pre-printed on a linen, and I backed it with SF 101, which is a Pellon product, so that I don't have to use a hoop, and I can carry my threads. And I am using, I have in my little Yazzie pouch, I'm using DMC 355, which is kind of a brick, it's kind of a clay brick color. And so I'm going to take this and just embroider my brains out. Because sometimes you need that repetition. It's calming. That's why the Sewing the Good Life, when I'm traveling, I just have my stitchy pillow on my lap, which you can find a tutorial on Quilt Roadies for the stitch pillow. And I could just, because I'm kind of a little babbly here, but I really think I was a dog in a former life because I just love looking out the window. And traveling from the coast back to the city, you go through the Tillamook Forest, and you've got water and tree. And the beautiful part of Oregon is that when they do any kind of clear cutting or forestation process, they replant, and you can just see over the years those trees that they've replanted whole forests, and it's just beautiful. The drive is just beautiful. So I need something that I don't really have to think about or concentrate on. A nice backstitch is awesome. I was listening to a couple of interesting things. You know, every time I hear something fascinating, I have to write it down. I remind myself of my mother. She had notes all over her house. I still have some of her sticky notes because she would write if she wanted to learn something. Because she was multilingual, she would write it down. And so there were sticky notes. Yeah. And I do the same thing, although not on sticky notes. I have just notepads everywhere. And one of the things, a couple of things that I thought were quite profound, if you would just give me a moment of my profoundness, is that this has nothing to do with quilting, by the way. It's just made me kind of stop. A tree grows in two directions. It is gravitropic, growing into the dark, and phototropic at the same time, growing towards the light. The work you do in the dark that matters, and it matters because it supports the work you do in the light. And as my friend Irene said, you also need a lot of weather, a lot of challenges, wind blowing on that tree to make the roots stronger. So I thought about that, and there are times that I think, oh, I'm just kind of over it right now. That's okay. I still need to be phototropic and gavotropic. So it's interesting to, I love learning stuff that I didn't know before. And then I saw this other thing that was, I can't even remember where I saw it, but the work, when it comes to mental health, In federal penitentiaries, they are required to provide 2 hours of yard time, outdoor time, fresh air, out of your room time, 2 hours. Otherwise, it's considered inhumane. That's in a federal penitentiary. But in a classroom, our kids are given like 30 minutes, including their lunch. And they're expected, especially boys, are expected to sit and behave and learn. And it seems like we might want to rethink that. I mean, the fact that my middle grandson, who's turned 7, has to catch his school bus at like 7:15 in the morning seems kind of challenging. Yeah. But I thought those two things were pretty interesting. And I wanted to share them with you. Okay, so that is what I've got for you today. I think I heard from the quilt shop down in Bend where my the long arm quilter that I use for custom quilting says my quilts are done, and so I'm going to pick them up when I go down to Sisters to have some fun. I'm looking forward to meeting everybody. I hope I see some of you there. I think we'll have a blast, and I am keeping my fingers crossed that the air is clear, and we have a wonderful time on Quilt Show Day. One day you should put it on your bucket list. One day quilts go up at 7 in the morning and come down at 4 in the afternoon. And it is a spectacular show. So I hope I see you there. You all take care and stay tuned for the walk around of the Center Diamond. Love you guys. Well, I cannot come to the coast without stopping at my favorite quilt shop. Let's go inside and see what's new.